everybody, John Huber here, Maryland Education Network, brought to you by Maryland K-12. What do you do when your child is the problem? That is a tough one, and nobody really seems to want to provide any information on that, or no one even wants to kind of address it, because when kids create problems, there's this assumption that, well, the parents must not be there. The parents just let them do whatever they want. That's not always the case. I have known lots and lots of really, really good, decent parents, good, decent people, and they just end up having these kids who just go crazy. So what do you do if that's you? I mean, you hear them all the time. You hear them on the talk radio shows. You hear people call up saying, you need to get these parents in there, round these parents up, find the parents, put the parents in jail. I've heard put the parents in jail. I've heard find the parents. Somebody called up the other day. I was listening to some talk radio. I was listening to, about this incident with the squeegee kids downtown, where the guy ended up getting shot and killed. And this one guy calls up and he's going, you need to get the parents of those kids down there. And well, there's an assumption there that these parents are just non-existent. There's an assumption that the parents are just letting these kids do whatever they want. Now, I'm not talking about the squeegee kids. That's a whole different world. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about kids in school who misbehave. Kids who are either getting in fights all the time, they're doing backflips off the desk, and they won't sit down and be quiet, and the teacher's just at their wits' end. The parents are at their wits' end. But what happens if your child is causing the problem? Because it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a bad parent. I can't tell you how many parents I've dealt with this over the years. They're doing everything they think is right. They're working hard. They're going crazy. And next thing you know, their phone's ringing all day. The teachers are calling, administrators. I used to call them all the time. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job if these people keep calling me about my son or my daughter in there, whether it's a social issue or he's constantly getting in arguments and fights with other kids, or whether it's a behavior problem where he's always arguing with the teachers, or whatever it is. Many parents think that they have done everything right, and maybe they have done everything right, but it's not cutting it. So what do you do in that situation if you're the parents? Well, but before I do have some tips, and I'm going to give you about 5 tips. I have some good 5 tips. It's going to be part of my something I'm going to put out on my website. But some tips for parents in situations like this. The first thing is you have to look at the whole situation and realize a couple things. You kind of have to come to terms with the fact that maybe your child is not being honest. That's the first thing. That is a hard pill for some parents to swallow. I can't tell you how many times I've heard all the time. They'll say, well, one of two things. It's either, well, she doesn't lie to me, she knows better. Or it's, well, I can tell when she's lying. No, not always. And yes, they do lie. Are they lying all the time? I try and insult the kids? Of course not. But that's what kids do. That's what I did when I was a kid. The kids will say and do anything to pass the blame to someone else and to keep themselves out of trouble. That's what they do. That's what kids, I'm talking about, elementary, middle school, maybe early high school age kids. That's what they do. They create in their minds this own little version of the truth, their version of the truth. They create this scenario in their mind where they haven't done anything wrong. It's everybody else. The whole world's out to get me. And they kind of create that. And they're very good at it. And they can be very convincing at it. And many parents buy into that. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that your kids are lying to you all the time. I'm just saying that they have a very unique way of crafting whatever may have happened into their favor. They're very good at that. They are very, very good at it. And there are times, and I can tell you time and time again, well, there have been probably a couple dozen times where I knew that a child was lying to me. I knew it because I had already seen what happened on the video. And I would bring them in and I would sit them down, and just out of a a sense of learning on my part, I would pretend I didn't know, and I would ask him, "So tell me what happened." And the way that they would go through this was amazing. They are very, very convincing. And there are many cases where if I didn't have video to counteract what they had to say, or to make it real, to show that what they're saying is not true, it would have been a very difficult situation. So that's the first thing, is when you're dealing with school-age children who are in these situations, whatever they may be, you have to understand that they do this. They will lie. They will manipulate the truth. They will do everything they can to convince you, the parent, that they just haven't done anything wrong and it's everybody else's fault. The other thing I want to point out before I give you a couple tips here is that if any of this stuff that your child might be having problems with involves social media, use of phones, that kind of stuff, let me give you a little advice. You may think that you know what your child is up to in this on the phone, but there are cases, folks, where you have no idea what some of these kids are doing on their phones, and some of the stuff that they're passing around. Either they're creating it on their own, or they're just seeing what someone else does, and they'll pass it off. And they're great at that too. They'll say, "Oh, well, I didn't do that. Just she did. I just passed it along." It's like, yeah, well, maybe you airdropped it in front of into the whole cafeteria, but you didn't create it. When it comes to social media, I can tell you, you may think that you know what they're up to, but you have no idea. There are sites that pop up and are here. There are services that will pop up and go away in a couple of months, and the kids will be all in a couple of the names of there's names of sites and services that these kids use you have never heard of. I know a lot of parents, you say, "Well, I monitor their Instagram." Well, you monitor the Instagram that they want you to monitor. Okay, but I can tell you, you dig a little deeper. This was a series when I was in middle school. Every day, well, maybe not every day, but very often, let's say, a whole nother Instagram page would pop up with all kinds of disgusting, pornographic, threatening, you name it, it's all there. And the kids were doing it. They're doing it with these fake pages. They create these fake pages. They hide them in their phone, in the back of these little hiding apps and things. I don't keep up with it anymore. I can't keep up with it. It was tough to do it back then. They used to have this. There was a thing called Kik. I think it was KIK. Just one service after another. My point is this: you probably have. If you think that you're monitoring their Instagram and you're watching what they're doing on social media, you have no idea what and maybe they do. Maybe you might be one of the lucky ones, and maybe your child has one Instagram page and they use it for legitimate social purposes, and that's. But I got to tell you, if your child is wrapped up in social drama, as they say, the drama, and everyone's talking about each other, you might want to take a look at their social media. The bottom line, the way I look at it, there is no reason on this earth that children of middle school age or younger, or even to a certain extent high school age, they don't need social media. It serves no purpose. They don't need Instagram. They don't need all the other stuff. They don't need it. It just because they're not mature enough to handle it. They can't do it. Anyway, so those are my two things. Number one, you kids very, very likely maybe not telling you the truth. And they very well may likely have a lot of things going on under the surface with their social media. And even if it's not social media, if it's just their phone, they're texting and stuff, there's something on there probably that you don't know about. So anyway, here's a couple of tips for you. The first thing when dealing with your children and dealing with school-age children like this, probably the most important thing is to separate the behavior from the person. Good teachers know how to do this. When there's something wrong, it's not you. It's not them that you don't like. It's not the child that you're angry with. It's their behavior that they're angry with. And that's tough to separate. And one of the ways you do that is every day is a new day. You see them the next morning. You go through the routines. You get them off to school. Everything's the same. Regardless of what happened yesterday, if you wake up in the morning, you start hounding them about something that happened yesterday, and it just sends them out the door with a bad taste in their mouth, and it just creates a really, really negative vibe around the house. So I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but always do everything you can to separate the behavior from the child. Another thing, I'm checking my little cheat sheet down here. Try to when dealing with your child, try to deal with him or her as professionally, if you will, but certainly try not to be too emotional. Yelling, screaming, carrying on does not do any good. It just contributes to the mayhem. It contributes to the chaos, and it makes children, their brains are fully developed, and then it makes for a very bad situation. So I know in your heart of hearts, you just want to grab them around the neck, and you want to yell and scream and throw things. Try to avoid that as much as possible. And probably the next few are probably you go together. You need to be consistent, you need to be reliable, and you need to be dependable. When you say something, you need to mean it. If you wake up in the morning and you say something like, no, I'm not a big fan of the threats, like if I hear from your teacher one time today, I'm good. But let's say you do that. You say, look, I'll tell you what, I haven't heard in a couple of days. Today's Thursday or today's Friday. If I don't hear anything from today, I'll let you have a couple extra hours on your computer tonight, or something like that, or the opposite. If I hear anything today, then you're not going to be on your computer tonight. So whatever the premise you have set up, you absolutely 1,000% must follow through on that, because when you don't, they know. They know, because the next time you say something, guess what? They know you don't mean it because you didn't do it the last time. And that's what kids do. They will push you each time to the next step, the next step. So when you say something, and when you tell them, if you do this is what we're going to do. If they do that, then you have to do it. You absolutely must, 1,000%, or don't make the threats. Don't make the promises, and the promises too. If you give me a good week, I'll take you out for pizza. We'll go to your favorite, whatever. If they do that, then even if they forget to ask, you have to bring it up. Hey, don't forget, you had a great week. We're going to take you to so and so. These are the kind of things that you have to maintain. They have to know that when you say something, you mean it. If you get in trouble today, then you're not going outside, or I'm going to take your phone. That's a good one. I'm going to take your phone from you. If I hear one thing today, that's it. I'm taking your phone. And if you hear something, you need to take their phone. Okay. Or I've had parents take the phone in front of me, and then I'm seeing them walking out the door, and they're handing it back to them on the way out the door. You have to be consistent. That is absolutely 100% important. And last two are pretty common. You have to be involved in your child's education. That doesn't mean you have to go up to school every day. It doesn't mean it means you just have to know what's going on. You have to know who the kids' teachers are. You have to know who the principal is, who the assistant principal is. You have to maintain a general state of communications with the teachers. You can't just not do it. Okay, you can't just ignore it. You can't just pretend that that they don't. You can't. You have to maintain that general relationship with the school, principal, assistant principal, whoever, teachers. And you have to stay on top of it. Like I said, you don't have to breathe down their neck, but they need to know that you know, right? And that'll be a big plus. And the last one is probably a one I hear all the time. No news is not always good news. A lot of times parents will think, well, if I don't hear anything, that's good. Not necessarily. It could be a lot of things. It could be you have a younger, inexperienced teacher that maybe is a little intimidated by calling parents. It could mean that maybe they've called you so many times and nothing has changed, and they've just kind of went, I'm tired of calling her because nothing happens. Or it could be maybe they just have maybe you've kind of hinted at them that oh my God, you can't keep calling me, I'm going to lose my job. Could be a lot of things. Or maybe they just said, you know what, I've called this parent enough. It doesn't seem to be helping. I'm just gonna, no news is not always good news. You as a parent should probably take the initiative to respond. It could be through email, text, whatever. Just say, hey, how's he doing? How's she doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything okay? Just checking up. You have to remember that no news is not always good news. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I got a couple more things coming up in this series as far as trying to help parents of the kids who are the problems. You hear about it all the time. Everyone's like, those parents. I can't tell you how many parents I've known over the years who are honest, decent, good, hardworking parents, but for whatever the reason, their kids are just struggling. And there's a lot of other reasons that I'm going to start getting into. So anyway, thanks for your time. Give me a call, comment, text, email, phone call, like, share, whatever you got to do. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.